Hey guys, what's up? Mike here. And today I've got another Konosuba review. This one is Season 2, Episode 7. And this episode was really just more calm, it was more relaxing, it was just kind of a good time overall. Nothing too crazy went down, nothing too major fights or anything like that, but it just was an overall enjoyable episode. So let's get into the review. So the episode starts off back at the house, and it's basically picking off from last week, but with a little bit of an interesting twist. We don't know why Kazuma is basically acting just so chipper and calm and not giving a shit about anything. You know, Aqua is giving him tea, and he's basically saying, "Oh my God, this is so good. You're okay. You just make another one, even though it's just plain water." Like, she's screwing it up every time. She's purifying the tea and just making it so disgusting, just hot water that she's serving him, and he doesn't even care. He's just all smiles all day long, and we kind of go on to figure out why that is later. But Megumin at this time is freaking out. She doesn't know what the hell is going on, why Kazuma's so happy after what she did to him last week. But then we do get a little bit of a flashback in to see why he's like that. And he definitely wasn't that way at the beginning. He was immediately so pissed off at her. He said he's gonna skin her alive as soon as she gets back. Called her a little lolly brat, I think it was, and it was hilarious. Good moment from Kazuma there. We're still in this flashback arc when Veneer actually just shows up right after this little episode of Kazuma freaking out at Megumin, or thinking about freaking out at Megumin. And he kind of just shows up and says that, "Oh, was there a barrier outside? I must have walked right through it, you know? I didn't even notice it, it was so weak." And basically this is what Aqua and him get into, kind of like a little bit of a grudge match kind of fight thing. And I really hope this keeps up, because Veneer and Aqua clashing, their personalities, they just clash so well together. And usually that's not something that you say about two characters that clash well together, but these two really do. Their personalities just like blend in a way that makes their comedy just really come to the surface when they're fighting with each other, each one of them. And it's really funny. I think my favorite part about that scene is when Aqua, you know, is being her sarcastic self. And I don't usually see this a lot from Aqua as a character, but I usually do enjoy it when she does pull out these sarcasm cards. And she's really pulling it hard against Veneer, kind of just chirping him back and forth about, you know, being a Demon King guy or whatever, I don't know. Veneer pisses Aqua off to the point where she basically uses a full-blown exorcism on him, and he kind of just melts away after throwing his mask off. And he doesn't give a shit about his bodies. He even says in this chapter that he can make pretty much as many of them as he wants, and they just kind of like mold out of the ground, which is definitely a really weird and OP ability. And it makes you wonder, like, why was he just having such a death fetish back when we first met him, and how he wanted to die? Like, we now see that he wouldn't really have died. He can not only make new bodies, but he can make new masks too, so that was interesting to see get explained. We then see Veneer trying to talk business with Kazuma again, and showing Kazuma that he is interested in his new products that he has from Japan or whatever. And then he offers him a really interesting price. He says he'll give you $300 million, or million eris, sorry, for the rights of these things. And that's just because he probably is a smart guy, and he realizes that, you know, a lot of people around here would be looking for products like that it can never be found, or, you know, have never been even invented yet. So he knows that he can make much more than 3 million off of it, 300 million off of it probably. And going from where he was, like, later in the chapter, like working for Wiz's shop, he seems like he was pretty serious about, you know, business stuff, and he knows what he's doing, so he's really smart when it comes to that aspect. And then, you know, he also offers him $1 million for a month for the next forever, I think. And personally, I think that they would be way more smart to take the million a month forever, because we know that these guys are really bad at blowing money and having to get in really, really bad debts and stuff like that. And I can imagine if they ended up getting into debt after taking the 1 million like a month, they could maybe even just like settle it with Veneer if they had to, but that's if it comes to that. Either way, it was really funny. And then we find out that's the reason why that Kazuma and Aqua were kind of just so chipper and didn't care about anything in the beginning of the episode. It's because they are getting so much money for basically doing nothing but having these products. Now that Kazuma has all this money, he kind of has this idea in his head that he doesn't want to do any work anymore, and I guess that kind of fits with his character pretty well. I don't blame him. I mean, if I won all this money, I wouldn't want to go on stupid quests either. They're kind of pointless. But then Aqua gets a little bit upset. Well, not upset. She just points at the fact that, "Oh, well, you still need to kill the Demon King, or the Devil King for me." And he's, "Oh, well, here's a good idea. I'm just going to hire somebody really strong, and then he'll kill him, and then I'll take the credit for it. It sounds perfect, right?" And he's basically like, "Oh yeah, Aqua, you know me so well." And this was funny part of the show for sure. At this point, Megumin's kind of freaking out, because obviously she's not really okay with just not going on adventures anymore or whatever. I think that her and Darkness are really just kind of tagging along, so that because they're bored and they really don't have anything else to do. Whereas Kazuma and Aqua kind of have like an end goal that they're going to be, you know, striving for, defeating the king and eventually getting back to the regular world. Cosmo's basically saying to Megumin at this point that his neck has been hurting really bad, so he doesn't want to go out and do anything. He'll just sit here around and wait until it heals. And then she suggests that they just go to the hot springs, and he kind of likes that idea, and I don't blame him. So the next morning, they're pretty much waiting and getting ready to go to the hot springs, waiting for Megumin and Darkness to wake up. And Cosmo goes and visits the Veneer store, Wiz's shop or whatever, and Veneer happens to be in there, you know, just looking at a couple new products and stuff like that, and Wiz is just like burnt up to shit on the ground because of what Veneer did to her earlier, and I just find out that she's interested in all this useless stuff that has no purpose being sold at a business and is not going to make any money whatsoever. So basically Veneer's kind of like trying to take over the business, and in a way he's smart for it though, you know, he knows what he's doing, and he even says that there's a product that they could sell to Kazuma that's a portable toilet that kind of makes a loud noise to cover up the sound of you going to the bathroom, but at the same time it'll cause a natural disaster. So it just goes to show how useless those items are in the store, but still funny though. So since Wiz is all burnt up, I guess Cosmo decided to take her to, or Veneer convinced him to take her to the hot springs as well. So they're basically getting ready, and he's carrying Wiz on her back, and she's kind of like disappearing because I think that's what happens when she gets like close to death or something. There was an explanation earlier on in the season, but I don't really remember it, but something like that. She's close to dying or whatever. Either way, Cosmo has to like drain Darkness immediately because she has the most magic or something like that, and puts it into Wiz so that she's able to, you know, be able to move and stuff again. It's funny because in Darkness it starts choking Cosmo, and usually you don't see a physical angry reaction from Darkness when Cosmo does something bad to her. She usually likes it, but this time she didn't very much. So then they're all kind of getting ready to pile into the wagon and go to the hot springs, and the driver says that someone's actually going to have to sit in the back seat because of a dragon. I mean, because there's not enough seats, because he needs one for a cage. Okay, but anyways, they have to do rock, paper, scissors to decide who sits in the back, and Cosmo says that if he wins 3 times in a row, then he doesn't have to sit in the back, but if he loses once to Aqua, then he will sit in the back. And obviously he wins all 3 times, and Aqua's all upset about it, begging him for another round, like saying he's a cheater and everything. So he goes again, and basically you find out that he's just been playing rock, paper, scissors since he was a kid, and he's really good at it. And even when Aqua tries to buff her luck, she still loses to him, so that was pretty funny. What was even funnier though was at the end of the rock, paper, scissors fiasco, when Aqua just starts being her like annoying self, kind of. She gets into these modes sometimes where she really just like bugs this shit out of Cosmo, and he every once in a while he'll snap, right? And he snapped in this episode, and he said, "You little bitch, if I could trade you in for a flower, I would have done it a long time ago." And that line made me laugh right out loud. I mean, usually Cosmo's pretty savage, but that was a savage line, no doubt about it. So then they leave town, and we kind of get a brief glimpse of how good this animation can be in Konosuba. And this episode, it had some good animations at most of the points, but this part I really thought was good when they did the gorgeous scenery and the water, and always the water is really good animation in Konosuba, but I found that the entire scenery in this part was really good, and it just looked great. As they keep going, they get farther and farther away from the town, just like saying bye to everybody, and we see a little bit of a flashback not flashback, but a little bit of a brief glimpse at where Union is. We haven't seen her in a while. We see Chris, we see some of the other adventurers that don't really have a name, and yeah, so they're leaving the town, and they get out into the desert, and they basically see this pack of things running at them. They're not really sure what it is at first. But then it gets closer and closer. The driver kind of recognizes that it's these things called hot kites, or running hot kites, and they're tracked to the hardest material out there called adamantianite or something like that. I don't know. Either way, they're attracted to Darkness's armor, and they're running after the carriage that they're in because she's in it. And this part of the episode is probably the funniest part, when she goes full out masochist, and loves the attention of these monsters coming after her and trying to hurt her or whatever. And we get into the other adventurers trying to help out stop this lizards or these hawk runners or whatever they are. They're kind of like big ostriches mixed with eagles. That's why they're called like hawk kites or something. It's interesting to see the kind of monsters in here and how they're kind of similar to real life, but not really, like the giant toads and the lizard runners and now these things. It's pretty cool to see the designs of those things. but the other adventurers are trying to help out, and they're trying to, you know, cause spell. And they think that Darkness running out in front like she normally does is actually the role of a crusader and her skill that's taunting all the monsters toward her. But no, it's just her being a masochist and wanting all of these lizards or these beasts to run her over. And so the adventurers decide that they can't stand by and let an innocent, brave girl like this, you know, go down without a fight. And so the one guy tries to help her by binding the beast, and she actually just jumps right in the way of the bind, and it binds her completely, like she's about to get run over by these things. The episode ends with Kazuma just apologizing for her ways, and it was a great ending to the episode. Overall, it was hilarious. All in all, this episode was pretty laid back, nothing too visually spectacular. But I think it was the little things that really made this episode, the really little funny jokes. And I think that's the little things that make all of Konosuba's episodes just so great. You know, if you pay attention, you can really catch all of these funny things that you wouldn't normally catch in other anime. Especially certain things like facial expressions and subtle actions and sarcasm and stuff like that. Especially in the one scene where Akko was fake slapping Kazuma's face with money. I love that scene. That was so funny, and it just fits so well, especially into the scene that it was in. So that's all I got for this one, guys. This episode was great. If you liked and enjoyed my review, comment and subscribe if you can, and I'll talk to you on the next one. Peace.